What do you need available when you're training your dog? In general, depending on the exercise, you might need additional gear than this, but this is a good, solid baseline checklist for any time you're training your dog anywhere. First and foremost, you're going to need your dog. Just like we talked about in the comfort check-in, you want to make sure that your dog can eat, that they're comfortable, that they're balanced, that they don't seem unduly excited or nervous about anything in their environment. The next thing you want to have is gear that is safe for your dog to wear. So that might be either a collar or a harness. For a harness, you want to make sure that it is well fitting, slips over their head, doesn't impinge their shoulders, and is secure and well fitted to their body type and their weight. So this is a harness that doesn't pinch Thor. It goes nicely over his shoulder blades and doesn't impact his movement. And it fits his body type, which is a little bit of a strange body type. So it was a struggle finding a good harness for Thor because he's a little longer than you would normally expect. If you're not using a harness, always use a flat collar, martingale, or limited slip that, again, fits your dog well, isn't too tight, and is secure for your dog. So with Thor, if I was worried that he might slip out of a harness or a collar, I would recommend a martingale. Martingales will tighten somewhat, but not for corrections, but they will tighten enough that they won't slip over his head, allowing him to run off. That's especially important if you have nervous dogs like his sister Hattie, who you may have noticed in another video was wearing a martingale in addition to her tag collar, but also just can be important for dogs who are tempted to slip out of their collar to go do something fun. If they've learned that they can slip their harness or their collar to go pursue reinforcement, you may need to have a martingale or something that's going to keep them secure. Next, you need your leash. I believe that leashes are for the comfort of the human involved. So I always wear leashes that are nice and comfortable on my hands. This is a nice soft leather leash. You think you're gonna do something, don't you? This is a nice soft 6-foot leather leash. I don't typically use leashes that are less than 6 feet for most dogs because most dogs benefit from a little bit of room to move around. This is a really nice leash for just a standard 6-foot leash. You can also use longer leashes for a lot of behaviors, like this 12-foot Biothane leash. This one's much longer. It allows some room for the dog to move around, to get excited, and to choose to come back to you. I prefer longer leads, especially when I'm working on foundation offered behaviors. Biothane is nice because it's very durable, it's very strong, but it slicks off dirt and mud very easily. Unfortunately, it also slicks off a lot of things, so it can get pretty slippery when it's wet. The other thing that you want to have is your treat pouch. I like a larger treat pouch, one that's going to have enough size for me to pack a lot of treats, as well as maybe my ID or some cards. I have space for poop bags, and anything else I might need goes in here. This is made by Doggone Good, and this is one of their custom logo merchandise bags, and it has hung with me for a nice long time. It's also got a nice easy opening, but it clasps shut when I need it to. You also want to think about rest time and break time for your dog. So for that, I have a mat if I'm working on mat work, or a towel, or if I just need a place to station my dog when there's a break time or when it's quiet or when I do need them still. I also might bring something for that break time, either a chew that they might enjoy. Thor's not sure if he's going to enjoy this one, or a toy if that's more up their aisle. So I might have a squeaky toy that I can use either for break time to work things out a little bit, burn some energy, limber up, play a little in between sessions, or I might use it as a reinforcer during some exercises. Depending on the dog, they might actually enjoy toys a little bit more than treats, and depending on the situation, a toy might be more reinforcing than a treat. What do you think? What do you think? Now with Thor away really quick so he doesn't get jealous, I want to talk about the other really important thing you want to have with you when you're training, and that's your treats. Depending on where you are, you might use different treats. When I'm indoors, generally, I tend to use harder, lower value treats like the dog's kibble, or very often another dog's kibble, or a sample pack, or a smaller bag of kibble that I picked up from the pet store because it was on sale. Remember, novelty is often very, very valuable for our dogs. So if it's not their kibble, it's likely to be even more exciting. I then go up to some medium value treats. I tend to like freeze-dried liver, freeze-dried proteins, and then up to really high value treats, which I tend to reach for string cheese, cheese cubes, meatballs, sometimes hot dogs. I don't tend to like how greasy they get, but really, really tasty things for those really difficult behaviors and really distracting environments. Generally speaking, you want treats that you can either break up easily into small pieces or that already come in relatively small pieces for the dog that you're feeding, and food that they really enjoy. Even if it's kibble, I want the kibble that they enjoy. If they're working somewhere particularly difficult, I don't want the kibble they enjoy because that's still going to be too low value for the distraction of the environment. So make sure you're thinking about not only what your dog likes, but where they are and what you're asking them to do, and base how good your treats are going to be on all of those factors. This is what's in my gear list just about every time I go out to train. Depending on the behavior, think about other things that might be useful or might be needed when you're training. So you're always prepared before you're bringing your dog into your training environment.